in the corner of the shop and all. We figured we'd finish up this video and all, showing you basically the rest of the body work, where we finished it up at as far as the exterior body work. Alright, if you remember, I had this panel here already done, put a little bit of Bondo on it, not much, you know, a little body filler on it, didn't take a lot. This side over here, we went ahead and got it welded. So this is basically the way it looks there. Just like the other side, it has the cavity filled in there, so no wind or anything can get in there. Got the opening designed there, so the door will cup in there. That all got finished up real well. Put us a cap right here, cap off this area. Got a little bit of body work to do there, and so that pretty much finishes the two sides as far as the welding in of the body work and all. So then we got a little bit going on this roof. Let me show you exactly what's going on. All right, on this roof here, here's my roof arch right here. Well, you might ask, well, why did you cut that out? No, well, I went ahead and cut it out because leveling off this roof and hammering it and all, that was an obstruction in my way. Well, you may ask, why didn't I cut it out to start with? Well, that helps give that roof a little bit of support. I've cut it out now. I'm going to iron out my roof, get it good and flat so I can, minimize the amount of body filler that I need right there. And now, then I'll turn around and I'll weld this right back in there. And you might ask, well, why don't you just leave it out? Well, as you can see with this roof, these XJ roofs, as such a large panel, they have a lot of movement to them. So the idea is to basically get my body work done, get it leveled out, ready for filler. Then I'll turn around and re-weld this back in. Once I get it in there, each one of these roof arches, I'll have to turn around and add sealer back in here to stiffen these up. Each one of them will have a good amount of sealer to tack that roof back together. So as the body is going down the road, as the wind is hitting it, as things are moving and all, my body filler is going to last a lot longer and be more stable than if this thing was to just go down the road bumping and banging and all like that. Even though nobody will be able to ride in here, it will still wind up keeping that panel good and straight. And then also, if I decide to do any kind of solar panels, anything like that on the top, then I've got good support up there with these roof arches. Trying to keep as many roof arches as possible in here. So back to our body and all. On the outside here, as you can see, we got our door gaps are looking pretty good. Got that good and even. So we basically use this rear clip. That's how we welded on this rear clip right there onto a second body right there. Got our tailgates. Both of them are working very well. Both of them are fitting good. Tail light will go here, and I'll just color in, paint in the red lens. Have an amber right there shining. My rear one will be wide open, just like the original were. And the other tailgate right now is working real well. So it's real easy. And it pops up good. Both doors are working real well. So that pretty much finishes up our body. And if you have any comments or questions or anything, please put them in the comment below, and I'll try to answer them and all. And the next thing we'll be doing, I'll be showing you about the tongue. We got to build that tongue. So that'll be our next part of it. We're going to be explaining how the frame is going to work. And in some ways, frame is probably more important than the body. But with this frame, what we're having to do is we're having to tie in regular structural steel into a unibody. It's a little tricky, and if you don't do it right, you can wind up with a lot of problems. You get this thing out on the highway, 65, 70 miles an hour, and something comes loose. You may be wishing that you'd done it a little different. So we're going to show you how we're doing it. There's really, no guidebook how to do this, so we're making it up as we go. But I think we've come up with a pretty good concept of how this is going to work. So, let's come on up here closer, and I'll show you exactly what's going on. You remember before, got my floorboard wide open right now. Right now, we're dealing with an open channel. The original old unibody frame right there, open channel. What do you do here? I mean, trying to tie in structural steel to this. A lot of guys are sitting there bolting in and all like that. Well, what we chose to do is use 2x3 square tubing, heavy wall square tubing. And whenever it comes and it sits in here, right against this right here, these nuts and stuff were in the way. Now this might seem like that's kind of a problem, and what are you going to do? Well, here's what we did, is we just basically break the things out like that. So it's not no big deal. You get them out of your way. Go ahead. These old Jeep Cherokees, XJs, they have it go nuts. You just pop these things out. Hammer that down, a little grinding, clean up work and all, get those out of your way. One of the things that Jeep did, this was originally, remember, this is where the front seat would have sat. Well, it has a rise to it. Notice that rise right there. I don't know how well that's going to take onto the camera and show them, but it rises up. So we come up with a pretty good concept of how to box this in. What we want to do is this side, it basically look like this side. I'm going to show you how we got this together. Our 2x3 is in the center of here, welded in there, and also welded underneath. We got a plate on top, welded here and here. Let's step over to the table and we'll take a look at what we got going on. All right, over here at the table right now, we got regular 2x3. We went ahead and come up with our angle we chose to use right here. Come right here. Well, that step down in that floor pan, or step up if you want to call it, this is basically what we had to do. Put a three-sided cut there and a three-sided cut here wrapping around. And that, in turn, will make this come up to meet up with the floorboard. Now, once we've done that, then we'll take some old plate steel, and remember now, this is a budget build, so that's why we're using a lot of this old second-hand type stuff and all. It's structurally strong. It's got just barely little surface rust on it. Inside, there's no rust whatsoever, and it's been a good material. So we take this plate, cut it out, an old drop plate that we had, cut out a piece, and it's 3.5 wide there. So then we take that, of course this is just an old donor piece, so I'm going to use another piece. I got to get it cut, and it's going to weld on top of here. I'll make a little bend here so it'll step up, make another little bend so it'll step there. So then it will transition down. Matter of fact, right here, this little block here, I'm going to be welding a couple of them right here because I actually need it to step up just a little bit more. This will line up with the bottom of my frame, and this then, when it steps up, it's going to match up with the top of the frame. The actual unibody frame is actually a little wider here. Once it matches up, then this will weld here, full bead there, all the way right there, full capping it off. Then whenever this is inserted into that frame, then I'll weld it on the outside edge, both outside edges. Then I will turn around and go underneath, just like I did on that piece, and weld from underneath. Each one of those holes where there was a nut, it got a weld in there. Good solid weld on every one of them. Made sure I cleaned up my material real good. Got it down to the raw steel so I could make a good bead on there. So that's how we actually tied these in. But, this is not the only support it's going to wind up having. If we come back over here, I'll show you that up front right here, you'll notice there's a big gap here. You can notice how this frame still has some movement because it's just tied into the floor pan. So what we're gonna do is, in order to tie that in real good, we're gonna take some of that old plate steel, standard old plate steel, cut it out whatever shape we need, and we're gonna take this, and on these old XJ Cherokees, this box here, where your bumper bolts, or pan here, I guess you'd call it, the frame, right here where the bumper bolts up, needs to be secured. So I will turn around and put a piece of plate up under there, tying this metal to this metal from the inside here, welding that up good and solid. But that's not all we're gonna do. Let me grab a second piece here and I'll show you what we're gonna wind up doing on the inside. All right. Stopped by a steel shop with a friend of mine, grabbed some of his old drops, bent me 3-inch, and this should be 7, but I'll have to trim it. I just grabbed it, made my 3-inch bend here, and then I'll trim it how I need it. What's going to happen on the inside, once this plate steel is inserted there and it's welded, then I'm going to take the plate steel like this, and I'm going to tie it in on the inside here, standing up this way. It'll be like that, and it'll tie this frame in, then it'll come in 3 inches and drop down around 2.5 inches, so drop down. Then this pan here, once I get these supports going this way, now my pans that I have here, then we'll turn around and trim out. I'll trim this out and then trim these up, and they'll fit right off in here. And once that's tied in, and this is be my interior panel here, it's a lot heavier steel than the original was. It will come here and here, so I'll have support from this frame here down. I'll have support coming up right there with this coming up into this area. Now imagine that being squared off where I can flip it around like this, and then this will be tied in to my interior panel, which will be tied in on the top, tied into these, tied into the side, and then also tied into the floorboard. Once I get the interior panel in, then I can turn around and step up and grab my regular sheets and start putting a few braces across and fill up this floor. But for now, that's where we're going with it. That's the plan we have. I think it'll turn out real good. I think with that right there, support all in this area here, there won't be any problem supporting this tongue. And as it comes out, it'll be well secured back here in the back, and I don't think we'll have any problem. All right, now, let me explain one thing to you. I know that this is a budget build, and I've tried to keep as many dollars out of it as possible, show you how cheap it could be. One thing you don't want to go cheap on is safety. Safety's got to be number one. You're running down the highway with that 65, 75 miles an hour, and it comes loose, you'll wish you had spent the extra dollars. Right now, went by the tool place, picked up some chains, a new tongue, and a jack. All right, all this together was around 60 bucks. 60 bucks is not worth a wreck. So go ahead and spend the money and buy a good hitch. Don't shortchange yourself on old junk hitch that somebody gave you. We'll be tying this in. We'll tie that in. This will be our marriage piece that will tie in these two frames coming out together right here. This will tie that in. There'll be a hole cut. Jack will go in there. Chains underneath. We'll be welding this side straight around. Each hole be welded. Now, some people may say, why didn't you build the old flip down jack? Well, I've had to repair quite a few of those flip down jacks. They're pretty wobbly and stuff. And when it comes to a camper, you won't find a camper trailer with a flip down jack. Since people will be climbing in and out of the camper right there through the tailgate, through the doors and all, this thing could be kind of wobbly. So with a regular straight jack, it's going to be mounted like this, and then it's going to be more secure. The flip down jacks and all leave a lot of room to wobble and stuff like that. So for now, this is as far as we got to this point. So we'll be getting back with you as soon as we get this stuff here mounted, so you can see it finished. Then we'll step to our next part of it. All right, good for y'all having y'all with us today and all. So stay tuned for the next part of it.